we agreed earlier that to solve an absolute value, I have to make sure that what comes out of the absolute value is a positive number. In today's lesson, we will continue working with absolute value, but this time we have operations. This means that we might add, divide, subtract numbers in addition to the presence of absolute value. Let's take an example and see how to solve. Find the absolute value of 4 plus 9. You have to keep in mind that step number 1 is always start with the absolute value. And once you start with the absolute value, you follow the order of operation. The order of operation is PEMDAS, parentheses, then exponent, then if we have a multiplication and a division, and then addition or subtraction. Keep the note over here with you. So start with the absolute value and then use PEMDAS to solve. For example, absolute value of 4 plus 9, we're going to start with the absolute value. We do not have parentheses, we do not have exponent, nor multiplication, nor division. We have only addition. So we directly do 4 plus 9, which is 13. Then it is going to be the absolute value of 4 plus 9 is 13. Then 13, as you can see here, is already positive. So what comes out of the absolute value is 13 only. Let's take another example, part B. We have find the absolute value of 2 minus 5. Again, we have to start with whatever is inside the absolute value. We have only subtraction here. So 2 minus 5 is a negative 3. Remember, here we have a negative sign, so it's not allowed to come out of the absolute value. To remove the absolute value, the negative 3 must be. Another example, the absolute value of minus 7 times 2. We have to start with the absolute value. We have here multiplication. Minus 7 times 2 is negative 14. Then the absolute value is 14 because we have a negative sign. To remove the absolute values, a positive number must come out. Another example, as we said, step number 1 is starting with the absolute value. So the 2 is written again as is, 2 minus. Then you do not need to confuse yourself. You ask yourself, am I going to start with the 3 to the power of 2 or with 5 plus 4? Based on the order of operation, we have to start with the parentheses. So it's going to be the absolute value, 3 to the power of 2 minus 5 plus 4 is a 9. And then I continue. Step number 2 is the exponent. So now I need to do 3 to the power of 2. I will have 2 minus absolute value. 3 to the power of 2 is 9 minus 9. We continue with the order of operation. We do not have multiplication nor division, but we have subtraction. We are still solving the absolute value. So 2 minus absolute value of 9 minus 9, which is 0. Now we have only one value inside the absolute value. Now we can remove it. So it's going to be 2 minus absolute value of 0 is 0. And then the final answer will be 2. So the final answer for this expression is 2. Part E. Again, we start with the absolute value, what's inside the absolute value. And we decide here based on the order of operation that says parentheses first. So we're going to keep the minus 3 as is. Absolute value, 2 power 4 minus 3 plus 6 is 9 to the power of 2. We continue. Minus 3, absolute value. Now here, step number 2 says solve the exponent. We have two exponents. We have 2 to the power of 4 and 9 to the power of 2. We can solve them at the same time. It's going to be 16 to the power of 4 minus 9 to the power of 2 is 81, absolute value. Now we're still inside the absolute value. We have subtraction. So we do the subtraction. 16 minus 81 is minus 65. The negative 3 outside stays as is. Absolute value of negative 65. Since we have one value now inside the absolute value, we are allowed to remove it. Remember, we have a negative with the absolute value. To remove the absolute value, the negative 65 should come out as 65. Remember here, the -3 and the 65, or the absolute value of -65, they have a multiplication between them. Even if it's not written, it's a multiplication. So we have -3 multiplied by 65, and the answer will be -195, because -3 multiplied by 65. So the final answer is -190. Another example, we will start with the absolute value here. Again, with the parentheses, so it's going 2 will stay as is, -4 will stay as is, absolute value 3 power 2 plus, here inside the parentheses we have exponent first, so we have to do it 25 minus 36, and then we continue 2 minus 4, absolute value 3 power 2, because we didn't finish the parentheses yet. 25 minus 36, and that's a -11. Now we can do the power, or the exponent, 3 to the power of 2, which is 9. The 2 and the -4 remain as is, absolute value of 9 minus 11. We continue with our absolute value. We have to have one value to be able to remove the absolute value signs. 9 minus 11 is a -2. As we continue here, we have one value inside, so we can remove the absolute value. So -2 comes out as a 2. Remember, between the 4 and this absolute value, there is a multiplication sign, even if it's not written. This is multiplication. The absolute values, as if they are brackets, as if they are parentheses, so there is multiplication in between. You can even write it to make it clear for you. You can write it so that you don't forget it. Equals 2 minus 4 multiplied by -2 should come out as 2. Now, based on the order of operation again, we have 2 minus 4 times 2. Do we do the subtraction first or the multiplication? Look at the order of operation again. It says multiplication before the subtraction. So I need to do 2 minus 4 times 2, and that's an 8. Now we do the subtraction. 2 minus 8 is -6. So please follow the order of operation. The final answer is -6. We have here two absolute values. We need to finish each absolute value alone. So we're going to start with absolute value of -3. As you can see here, the negative is not allowed to come out, so the value will be a 3. Then we move to the other absolute value. The negative sign remains as is. Absolute value of 8. 8 is positive, so it will come out as 8. 3 minus 8 is a -5. Again, two absolute values. Absolute value of -4. It should come out as 4. As you can see, there's multiplication between them. The second absolute value, -2, should come out as 2. The final answer will be 8. Here we have division. Remember, we have to finish what's in the absolute value first. So 7 plus the absolute value of -4. The absolute value of -4 is 4 divided by -4 remains as is, minus as is. Absolute value of 7 is 7. Now 7 plus 4, numerator, we have to finish the addition in the numerator, which is 11, and then divided by -4 minus 7 is -11. 11 divided by -11 is equal to -1. So the final answer is -1. As you can see here, we finished the absolute value, then we finished the numerator alone, then the denominator alone, and finally we did the overall operation. In this example, let's start with the absolute value, what's inside. We keep the -3 as is, plus here we should start with the parentheses. 7 minus multiplied by minus, it's a +4. Also here, minus multiplied by minus, it's a +1. We continue, minus 3 plus, inside the absolute value 7 plus 4, that's absolute value of 11, plus 1 equals, what comes out of the absolute value is 11 because it's a positive number, plus 1. Now we have to do the final operations. We start from left to right, as we said here in step number 5 and 6. When we have addition and subtraction together, we start from left to right, whoever comes first. So minus 3 plus 11, that's an 8, plus 1, it's a 9, so their final answer is 9. As you can see in this example, we have two absolute values. We start with the one inside. We're gonna rewrite the 2 to the power of 3 as is, minus absolute value. We will start solving the exponent. Minus 4 to the power of 5 is minus 1024, closing the absolute values. Then we have 2 to the power of 3 minus. Here, what comes out of the absolute value is positive 1024. Now we go back to solving the bigger absolute value. We will start with the exponent. 2 to the power of 3 is 8 minus 1024. The answer will be absolute value of negative 1016. Removing the absolute value, we will have 1016 as a positive number. So the final answer will be 1016.